Hello everyone! Today we have a rather unusual car for Russia. Naturally, when people see this brand, they immediately begin to think of James Bond movies. But in fact, nothing connects this model with James Bond specifically. Only you can think of such a story. That when he was small, when he was still in some institute or college, then he had such an Aston Martin in the beginning. But the thing is, this is the Vantage. This is the smallest Aston Martin. Nevertheless, you can't call him uninteresting. I think it's very interesting. Why? Because it's small, and it has a big engine. Our version is not the top of the range version. It's got a V8. Because there is another Aston like this, the same edit, but with a V12 engine. It's actually very rare. We've got a normal V8, 4 and a bit liters. About 400 horsepower. What's interesting is that it's only done 2000 kilometers. This, of course, is the Phantom's older country-bred counterpart. Drophead, just so you understand, it's somewhere like comparing if a real car and a small children's electric car that rides in amusement parks. That's about the same here. The Aston is compared to the Rousse, but realistically, it looks like a kid's car. Nevertheless, it's a very interesting car in terms of design. But now I'm showing you what the filters look like. The air vents look like some sort of small tractor. But actually, the old Maserati has air vents like this. It seems to me that in those generations of cars, somehow, plus or minus, they put all the same things. And it is interesting that the old Maserati GT4 200 and this Aston have air filters in approximately the same place, namely under the wings. More precisely, under the fenders. But this design is also very strange. By the way, these are cabin filters. There are two of them here. In general, you sell everything in pairs. That is, there are always two filters in one box. But if we are talking about air filters, and if we are talking about cabin filters, in fact, the maintenance of this car is not particularly expensive. Original spare parts are relatively inexpensive. But that key, of course, spoils it. It spoils the condition, the general mood, I think. Those who are even a little bit familiar with cars, and those people who are more, probably 35 years old, they will immediately realize that this key is from an old Ford Focus. This is unfortunate because, as I understand it, at one time Aston was owned by Ford. Well, and that has left, of course, indelible marks. But not very good marks. But nevertheless, it is what it is. Well, I'm just showing you what it looks like. More detailed review look literally in a week. It's just an introductory one. But what I want to say about this car? The fact that despite the fact that it is the youngest in the lineup, the quality of finishing materials is very good. And in general, very qualitatively made car. Whatever they say about English cars. Honestly, I am ready to argue almost probably with anyone, on any English brand. Because I think that basically all the troubles of these cars are from poor service in our country. That's just what it's all about. Look at the extent to which you can still put another engine like this in here. Even though it's a V8. By the way, you see, it's hand-built, and the man who assembled it is also here. Now, this is not a small V8 motor. And it's not small in displacement. But there's still enough room here to fit an even bigger engine. But as I told you earlier, there is a bit of... So basically, it's all designed for it. And notice how many struts there are for rigidity. Interesting, isn't it? But this model was in the early 2000s. As was the DB9 of this generation. The Vantage and DB9 are very often confused, but in fact the design is very similar. But this is a smaller car, and that one is bigger, but both that one can be associated with James Bond. This one, as far as I can see, can't. Because it wasn't in the James Bond franchise, I don't think. And then, there's all sorts of little British things. These are the wiper blades, which don't have plugs on them, but still. The car wasn't cheap to begin with. Why don't they put the plugs in? Either something was lost somewhere at the office when the car was serviced. But it seems to me that this is the way it should be. I almost said it had a 4.2 engine. I'm used to the Maserati. This has a 4.3 engine. Very similar design to the Maserati. The gearbox is at the back. It's a robot box. From the engine to the box, there's a PTO. It's not small here. You see, along the whole car goes. Like the old Maserati, there's also an oil tank. All the ingredients that are there for a robot gearbox. Clutch valves, clutch pump. Everything is as it should be. You can't buy such a car unmaintained and with high mileage, because it will be very, very unpleasant maintenance. Therefore, if you suddenly look at such a car, be sure to look at the condition, be sure to look at the mileage, and be sure to look at its history. This will help you save your nerves and, I think, a lot of money. For today, my review, I think, we will already be wrapping up. But once again, a more detailed one will be in the near future. There will be something to see, because really the car is very interesting. I will show you the construction, we will do the maintenance, we will also see the interior, and maybe, weather permitting, we'll take it for a drive. That's all I've got. I'm off to work. Have a good show, everybody. Bye, everybody.